That's right. Indo-European, Uralic, or Finno-Ugric, and Semitic languages. I might have mentioned a long time ago that I was going to make some videos about language families. I've made a lot of videos speaking in other languages and talking about languages, and I'm going to continue to do so. I'm also going to make some simple and not too complicated videos about language families, just to give you an idea about what's what, because it can seem very confusing about which, if you're interested in which language is related to which, because there's a lot of them, especially in Europe and Asia, and many people aren't aware of uh, what they are, or which ones are related and which ones are different. So this is gonna be the beginning um, of those sets of videos that I want to talk about. So I'm just going to go over a bit of that. I mean, many people choose their languages based on other reasons, and I think that's much wiser than choosing a language merely because of its family. But it can still be an interesting thing to know, and it might help you making your decision. You might be interested in one language family alone, or you might be interested in learning a language from a few of them or a couple of them. So just to make the picture a little bit clearer, because often, I mean, not all the time, but sometimes, I mean, neighboring countries do share related languages or even the same language. And in other cases, neighboring countries might have completely different languages. They might not be related at all and belong to a different family. And it's important to remember that just because, I mean, just by looking at the people, you're not uh, you're not necessarily going to tell that they speak this type of language. You may think, oh, they look like those people, they speak the same language. No, not necessarily. There can be very, very big differences. I mean, a language in Asia might be similar, not similar, but related to a language in Europe, uh, or a language in the Middle East might be related to a language in Europe, and the people don't look the same. So that's a different kind of thing. I'm not an expert on this topic. Um, my main focus is learning languages, but I do occasionally look at this. I've looked at this topic a little bit, and I do find it interesting. I don't get into all the technical aspects, like a lot of the technical similarities between them and differences, but just some general basic information for the lay person who's interested in picking a language and they don't know which one to pick. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to be not talking about all the language families in the world, because there's a lot of them. But some of the main ones, some of the European ones, and also probably some of the Asian and maybe African ones as well. We'll see. So I guess I'll just make this an introduction video, and later on at some point, I'm not sure when I'll do it, but I'll start talking about the Indo-European family. It's called the Indo-European family. Indo-European. You may have heard of this term. Now, I think this is one of the biggest language families. I'm not sure if it's the biggest in the world. I'm pretty sure Austronesian is one of the biggest families, but anyway, Indo-European is obviously the biggest in Europe, with the largest amount of speakers. So, generally speaking, most of the languages in Europe belong to this group called the Indo-European family. So it's got the word European in it, but it encompasses most of Europe and also even into some countries in Asia, which I'll explain. So Indo-European is one of the biggest language families. The dominant ones in Europe. English is an Indo-European language, so most people speak that. I'm going to sort of go into them. Now that Indo-European is a big family. Within that, you've got branches like which I'll go into. You've got Romance languages, which you've heard of, obviously, or Latin languages, and you've got Germanic languages. You've got some other Slavic languages. Definitely is another big group in the Indo-European group, and the Indo-Aryan is also another very is another interesting group. And they're not spoken in Europe, but they are Indo-European. So I'm going to go into that, and also I'm going to explain that some of the languages in Europe, just because they're spoken in Europe, does not make them Indo-European. I'll explain that in a later video. Alright, so I think I'll leave it there, and then at some point, when I get around to it, I'll make the videos on these language families. Thank you.